When we want to select an object, we are going to use the regular black selection tool. Now when you select your object, if you have a bounding box, it's maybe because you left your bounding box on. In the previous lesson, we turned ours off by going up to the View menu and turning off the bounding box. Here you see that I could show it again, but we'll leave it off for now. Let's reselect our object and talk about the selection tool. Now the selection tool is great for selecting your objects, okay? If you need to move your objects, if you need to reposition your objects, or perhaps if you need to reshape them as they are, meaning not really change the kind of shape it is, but rather reshape it, the selection tool is great for that. Let's do that. Let's select our rectangle. And because we've turned off our bounding box, if we look over in the Tools panel, you are going to see the Free Transform tool. We'll select that and notice that your bounding box now comes back. If you want to reshape your selected object, let's hold down the Shift key and drag one of these corner points. Now the reason we held down the Shift key is because we'd like to keep the shape proportionate, height and width wise, when we reshape the object. If we let go of the Shift, notice that we can reshape the object height and width independent. When we're done reshaping the object, we simply let go. Now if we hover around one of the corner points, you'll notice that your cursor turns into a little twisty arrow. That allows you to turn your selected object around. So you just click and drag around a corner point to turn that around. We'll do a Control-Z or a Command-Z on the Mac a couple of times to get our original shape back. Alright, and now let's select V on the keyboard and deselect. Now what if you wanted to change the actual shape itself? That's where the Direct Selection tool becomes very handy. Let's go grab the Direct Selection tool. Notice the shortcut for that is A. Again, the shortcut for the regular selection tool is V. The Direct Selection tool is A. The Direct Selection tool has a very specific purpose. Instead of selecting an object and moving it around, what you'll do with the Direct Selection tool is actually click right on one of the anchor points to reshape the object. Let's see how that works. With the anchor point active, if we click and drag, you'll see that we can very easily reshape any of our objects. Okay? You can also reshape the object by selecting a path, and this will just pull the selected path in the direction that you're dragging. So again, click right on an anchor point and drag to reshape your object. Now what if you wanted to reshape an object that isn't a straight path? What I mean by that is this rectangle is made up of straight paths. What if we look down here at our swervy line, or perhaps the spiral? Well, those aren't straight lines. So what happens if you want to reshape a path that isn't straight? Let me just deselect this path, and now let's hover over the paths here on this curved line. When we are right over an anchor point and we select, you'll see something that you didn't see before, and these guys are called direction handles. Whenever you work with a smooth path, which is also a curve, instead of just clicking and dragging on the anchor point, which you can do, you can also click right here on the direction handles to reshape the curved path. What you'll notice when you click and drag on the direction handle is these guys work in tangent. You pull one side and the other side also goes with it. You can pull out to get yet another shape, or in to get it a little bit tighter. Alright, so with a curved path, you can click right on the anchor point or either side of the direction handle, pulling in to get a tighter curve or out to get a wider curve. And then let's deselect. So as we move forward with the rest of the lessons, when we talk about selecting an object, you are going to make sure the black selection tool is active. Again, a shortcut for that is V. Notice how your cursor turns black. The selection tool selects the entire object to move it around. You could also change the fill and the stroke color and a number of other things. But if your goal is to reshape an object, that's when we get the direct selection tool. Shortcut for that is A. What you'll do is hover right over one of the anchor points. Now let me show you a little buggy thing with Illustrator. Notice that I am right over an anchor point, but what's happening this time? Well, when you select the direct selection tool, you might try to reshape, and if it doesn't work out, all you need to do is deselect the object, hover back over again, and when your anchor point becomes active, then you click and drag. All right, and that happens in Illustrator every once in a while. It usually happens when an object is selected and then you switch to the direct selection tool. All you need to do is remember to deselect, hover over an anchor point again, and reselect the anchor point, and then you can reshape your object.